The Philadelphia Phillies paid the price of sending away multiple young talents in exchange for one of the most electric closers in baseball at the trade deadline. But Dave Dombrowski has already been quick at work reloading the class of young talent, with one particular player a potential secret weapon for this Phillies team. That is first round pick Gage Wood, who I particularly want to highlight and why I think he should be viewed in a bit of a different light than just about any prospect that we've talked about on this channel to this point. That I know we think of baseball as this long pathway to the majors, and that is mostly correct, that it does take a longer process to fast track players to the professionals or make an impact on their team than any other sport there. But Gage Wood was a more experienced draft pick than we've really seen in Phillies draft history, and I do think he could come into play a bit quicker than many of us are expecting. Now, what fired me up and got me ready to talk about this here was the MLB Pipeline's updated Phillies top 10 prospects, with Gage Wood climbing right to number 4 on this list. That's right behind Andrew Painter, Aiden Miller, and Justin Crawford, that Gage Wood slots in at this spot here. Now, you may be familiar with the name. Of course, he is the first round pick, but he really made some headlines for recording the third ever no-hitter in College World Series history. He struck out 19 and talked a whole bunch of trash while doing it. The first no-hitter in the College World Series since 1960 there, and I do love the little Arkansas slashing the name there. That is something that continues to stand out to me about Gage Wood, is there is this team-first mentality, that even while he's having the best individual moment probably of his lifetime here on that stage, he's still celebrating the team. And this is directly applied to his experience in Philadelphia to this point. He did meet with Phillies media and he was asked about his role, if he prefers to be a starter or reliever, to which he replied, quote, "Whatever they want me to do." Now, granted, this all only plays if the stuff is legitimate, but from everything that I've seen and every expectation that has been written about him to this point, I do believe this is the real deal. And to give a little bit of what his scouting report is, this coming from MLB directly here, that it writes, after Wood became Arkansas's closer as a freshman in 2023 and then continued to log high leverage relief innings as a sophomore, scouts look forward to him joining the rotation this spring. He came down with a shoulder impingement after his second start and missed 2 months before coming back for the stretch run. Though his command was sporadic at times following his return, he delivered a 19 strikeout no-hitter against Murray State in the College World Series, with only one hit batter keeping him from a perfect game. His combination of stuff and strikes could lend him to the middle of the first round. Wood has one of the best fastballs in the draft, sitting at 94 to 96 miles per hour and reaching 98. Its combination of velocity and carry, along with his low release height and flat approach angle, produce elite rates of chases as well as overall and in-zone swings and misses. He relies heavily on his heater and a power 82 to 85 mile per hour curveball that shows flashes of becoming a plus pitch. Wood's upper 80s slider isn't nearly as effective as his curve, and he barely uses a changeup with similar velocity and decent fade. After battling the strike zone as a freshman, he's carried a 5% walk rate the last 2 seasons. He has the ingredients to succeed as a starter, though he also has a shoulder issue in high school and will have to prove he can handle the workload. And the other point that I did want to note here, that I mentioned the no-hitter, he was one hit batter away from being a perfect game. The first question when asked to him in interviews following this game about the experience and what's going through his mind, he said, "I shouldn't have hit that batter there." And I do love, once again, what makes this guy tick is something that fires me up here, and I do think he's got the mentality to be ready from this right from day one. Now, our guy Luke Arcani, as always, all over the place covering the Phillies here, and he wrote in his initial reaction article for Crossing Broad a very valid point that I did want to highlight. At the conclusion of article, Luke writes, "The kid has some serious juice, something that this Phillies bullpen definitely needs, especially from the right side. His fastball is incredible. Even after dealing with his shoulder injury early in the season, he came back and touched 97 to 98 miles per hour. For the first time in the Brian Barber era, the Phillies selected a college player in the first round. You have to wonder how much of a win now move this is. Gage Wood is the type of player that the Phillies could fast track to the majors. They need help in the bullpen, and Wood can help with that." Now, obviously, this was written and the draft took place before the Johan Duran addition there, and that certainly changed the entire construction of this Phillies bullpen. But I do believe there is a serious issue on this Phillies team's hands, and that is the wear and tear that is currently going down across the starting pitching. I'm not saying Gage Wood is ready to be a real deal MLB starter from day one and should get that opportunity right now. But if the stuff plays, if he gets a chance, why not burn him for a game here or there? Why not see what this kid can do? And he should be viewed in different light because of the fact that he's 21 years old. This is not taking a 17 or 18-year-old kid out of high school that you're still waiting to see what they grow into, both physically and as a baseball player. He is mostly a finished product to this point. And with those shoulder injuries in mind, I'm not pushing back the start date. That I don't need this kid to burn himself out for multiple seasons when there could be a short shelf life. Now, this is just throwing that out in the universe here. This is not something that we have on any firm grounds, and you would have to believe that the Phillies have done their homework from the medical perspective by selecting him with that first overall pick. I do think that there's at least consideration to putting this kid on the fast track to the major leagues. I don't think it will happen at this current point. The Phillies are giving out all the vibes that they do not see this as the same way as me, that with Zack Wheeler and Ranger Suarez and the velocity dip that is being seen with both pitchers, they seem to be handling it as business as usual. These guys are going to keep powering through, sticking to their scheduled start. I just completely disagree with that mentality. That, to me, the number one important thing at this stage of the season is getting your top guys as healthy and as ready as possible for that postseason there. I do not care really what happens for these final stretch of games. The Phillies are in good standings from a playoff perspective. That at the time of recording this, they have a 5-game lead in the National League East and have several matchups with the New York Mets that will directly help control their destiny to ensure that they win the divisional title there. They are in a good spot because of the work they've put into this point. What the priority should be in my mind to this is making sure that you're saving some of your guys a little bit. And if Gage Wood is a solution to that, then introduce him to this major league team right now. I like throwing guys to the fire. I like seeing what they can ultimately do. And I'm not saying that he can just hop Andrew Painter, but there should be a little bit of pressure. And there is going to be a very difficult long-term discussion about what is the future of the pitching staff here. We've talked plenty about this already, with Ranger Suarez being a upcoming free agent there. Jesus Luzardo, what is the outlook with him? Christopher Sanchez continues to deal. Zack Wheeler, only a couple seasons left. How does this staff fit together? Where is Andrew Painter in the mix? There's a lot more questions than answers for this entire equation here, but Gage Wood is another guy that needs to be thrown in the mix. And I also did want to mention that this is not the only notable prospect that they did add with this year's draft class. That looking at the entirety of the pipeline rankings, the Phillies' top 30 prospects as number 4 in the MLB pipeline overall, which is a really strong indicator there. Andrew Painter at number 1, Aiden Miller at number 2, Justin Crawford at number 3. There's Gage Wood at number 4. And also adding from this year's draft class, we have left-handed pitcher Cade Obenmuller, right-handed pitcher Matthew Fisher, right-handed pitcher Sean Youngerman, and right-handed pitcher Cody Boker. It did feel like they really attacked the pitching market there, which is particularly interesting to me when reflecting on the same problems that we just brought up. There already feels to be a logjam, and you're just adding to this. Now, most of these guys do fall in the category of they will not even be in consideration for several seasons. That it's going to take some time to work their ways through the minors. Again, I think Gage Wood directly is the lone outlier for a guy that should be viewed in different light. But there also is just as much value in blowing up these guys, giving sort of an inflated value for what they could bring in a return, and then bringing in concrete players who know who they are at the major league level. That allows you to get a Harrison Bader, allows you to get a Johan Duran, a Carlos Estevez. We know the deadline deals that have gone down with this Phillies team. The more that you can add to this Phillies overall staff and just minor league farm system as a whole is a good thing here. That there is always going to be deals to be made, and it takes prospects to get the job done there. The Phillies are still in win now mode, and I think just rebuilding this class is a huge deal here. But nonetheless, Gage Wood is a player that I would keep my eye on, and I do have sort of an inclination in the back of my mind that maybe it happens a bit quicker than we may ultimately see it. It is unfair to Gage Wood directly to expect him to make any sort of impact when he just is pitching in the College World Series just a couple months ago to this point here, but I do think this guy may be built a little bit different, and I think the Phillies are recognizing that as such. There was a little twinkle in Dave Dombrowski's eye when he talked about this guy. This was before the rankings that came out that I watched a press conference where he was talked about a lot of the prospects coming up through the system, and he said that first round pick we got, I think he's going to climb awfully high on that list as well. I do hope that this happens. I do think that there is value in giving him an opportunity and limiting the amount of innings for the rest of the pitching staff, but that seems to be far higher on my list of priorities than the Phillies directly. So we will see what ultimately happens from here, but Gage Wood is a name that we should start to get familiar with right here in Philadelphia. So let me know what you guys think. Am I being completely out of my mind and unrealistic to have any sort of expectations for a 21-year-old kid that is probably still attending college classes at this current moment? Let me know if I'm going crazy in the comments, but that is a storyline storyline that I would like to at least monitor for the time being. So let me know if you guys are on the same page, and do you believe that he could be effective for this Phillies team? Drop your comments below. As always, appreciate each and every one of you guys tuning in. Make sure you're smashing that subscribe button if you have not just yet. Drop a like on this video. I'll be back talking with you next time. Peace.